I have to take all the rest and I don't want to say it wrong.
But it wasn't.
I can have anything that I just said before you guys. I would think that this and this. So you guys count how many days this week? Oh, I think it's 24. 24. Set a time. Today is
I'll keep an eye on it. Thank you. Really easy to harvest.
Sugar will always help.
I think it's good.
Very long.
Like, what am I supposed to realize all
Okay, I'd like to welcome you to our meeting this evening. I apologize for starting a little bit later. We needed to have a break in between our previous session, so I appreciate your patience with us in that regard. Would everyone please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome all of you here this evening. Before we get started, we need to...
You already did.
Okay, I thought we did. We need to do a couple of things. As you all know, we had an election, and on April 4th, we will be certifying some of those results and seating a new board member this evening. The first thing is a big congratulations to all that worked on helping to pass the Proposition Hawks. That was an amazing accomplishment, and we are very excited. But we need to certify and approve those election results that were presented to us from Jefferson County. And we had 1,311 yes votes and 803 no votes. So therefore, the proposition has passed. So I need a motion to approve those results. Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Second, Ms. Petrie. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hands, please. All right, great. So a big thank you to our community and to all of those that work so diligently to help get that passed and for supporting your kids. The second issue has to do with the reorganization of the board. We elected 3 candidates to the board. 2 were re-elected. Angie Oshie with 1,227 votes and Beth Petrie with 825. We will also be welcoming Jan Heine this evening. Jane, it says Jane on there, sorry, I knew that was wrong. And she had 857 votes. So I need a motion to verify or to certify those election results as well. Renee?
Second.
And who?
Eric.
Eric. Thank you. Okay. Any other discussion, questions? So all of you are able to vote. Okay, all in favor then? Very good. Okay, we will be asking Ms. Heine to come to the front, please, so that she can receive the oath of office and be seated. And Beth and Angie also have to take the oath again. So we want to stand here with the other two.
I'm gonna get my blood on. And recognition.
And our board secretary will be giving you the oath.
I ask that you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
and that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge the duties of school director.
And impartially discharge the duties of school board
members
In and for School District R3,
and for School District R3,
County of Jefferson,
County of Jefferson,
State of Missouri,
State of Missouri,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
according to law,
according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
We'll give her a moment to get set up. Okay, so welcome to the board.
Yes.
The next item tonight has to do with election of board officers. We will be electing a president, a vice president, a treasurer, and a secretary as well. So Dr. Corman will start us off for the role of president.
Right, I'd like to call your attention to the board officers elected. We will follow the policies outlined in Hillsboro School Board Policy BCA Critical, with also legal references to the Missouri Constitution. Unless the board objects, the process for electing a board president will proceed as follows. I will open the floor for nominations. We will call 3 times. A second will be required for each nomination to the office of board president. After the third call of nominations, I will ask for a motion to close nominations. The board will approve the closing of the floor for nominations on a 2/3 majority, so that means a minimum of 5 members. After nominations have closed, members may vote only one time for any one of the individuals nominated for board president. The candidate receiving the largest number of votes, plurality, but not necessarily the majority, will be elected. If there's a tie between 2 or more nominees, those individuals who did not receive the highest number will be eliminated from consideration, and the board will vote again. Does any member object to this process? All right, the floor is now open. I'm calling for nominations for the office of board president.
I nominate Lisa Welker.
Second.
All right, so Lisa Welker is nominated by Angie Oshie and Beth Petrie. A second time for nominations. And finally, a third time. Any nominations for that office? All right, seeing none, I need a motion for nominations to cease and that Lisa Welker be elected president by a vote of acclamation. I need a first and a second to that effect.
So moved. Second.
All right, I have a first by Renee Saharsky seconded by Beth Petrie. And I need a show of hands vote from all members of the Board of Education. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, ma'am.
Okay, so that then takes us to the vice president nominations. Do I have any nominations? Okay. Beth Petrie. I need a second for that. Second, thank you. Do we have any other nominations for vice president? Last call for vice president nominations. Okay. Doing an auction here. Okay, so we have Beth Petrie nominated, so we will close the nominations. First, to close nominations. Sorry. And Renee. Okay. So all in favor of voting for Beth Petrie as vice president, raise your hand, please. And one abstention. Okay, congratulations. Our vice president. Okay, we'll move to treasurer nominations, please. Do I have a nomination for treasurer?
Renee Saharsky.
All right, I have a first and a second by Eric. Do I have another nomination for treasurer? Any other nominations for treasurer, please? Okay. Can I have a motion to cease nominations? Ms. Petrie? Second, Mr. Stevenson. All in favor of accepting Renee Saharsky as treasurer, raise your hand, please. And she's great at that. So congratulations. Very good. So our officers will stay the same. We also have to, if I can turn the page, have a nomination for our board secretary, who is also the custodian of our records.
Nominate Beth Johnson.
Thank you. Second by Beth. Okay. Okay, any other nominations? Okay, I make a motion that nominations cease. And a second by Beth. All in favor of electing Beth Ann Johnson, sorry, as our board secretary, raise your hand.
Make sure it's the right one.
Yes. You don't want double duty? Okay, very good. So thank you. She has served us well for several years, and I'm sure for many more to come. So congratulations.
You do not need item E.
Okay, I was just going to say those did not change. Okay. Special recognitions this evening. Mr. Lewis could not be here this evening, but we would like to recognize the fact that he served on the board for 6 years. And we appreciate all that he has done, his service and his sacrifice that he's made. We do have a plaque that we will be giving him, and I'll kind of be the Vanna White to show you what a very nice little plaque that we will get to him, unless you'd like to accept this award in his place. We'll make sure that he gets that. But again, let's give him a round of applause and thank you. All righty. We do have a couple of visitors to address the board this evening. Rhonda Harrison and Noelle Horner. And are we fine with the minutes? We're just giving proposals, is that all we have? Okay, great, all right.
We don't need that one.
I didn't.
We don't need that one.
I just needed to check.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Noelle Horner, and this is Rhonda Harrison. we are now the co-presidents of MSTA for now and through next school year, and Rhonda is handing you our salary welfare proposals from MSTA for this coming season of negotiations. And we look forward to working with you on behalf of our students.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. So we will be looking at these in further detail, I'm sure, in the coming weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. And is that all of our recognitions? And
Yes, ma'am.
all right. So, moving on to the consent agenda. Let me draw your attention to all of those items. Are there any questions or issues for concern on this list before we begin the process of approving the agenda?
I need to accept the
Okay.
consent as presented.
Thank you. Thank you, Angie. Any discussion or questions that you might have? All right. So I want to see a show of hands for those who approve this consent agenda, these items. Very good. Thank you. All right, that takes us to reports for the evening. The first one would be the superintendent's report.
All right, I would say I'm going to keep this short, but y'all know that I normally don't. But I want to keep you informed of the things that are happening in the district, keep you abreast of ongoing issues and matters of importance. First, the Hillsboro Hawk app. Please download that to your phones if you have not already. Hillsboro Hawks. You can search that, and you might not want to do it now because I know we have them working on our. We don't want to crash our system if everyone downloads it right here on the Hawks Wi-Fi guest. So download that at your leisure. Stroll through the app. We think it's going to be a great process. All the administrative staff went through training as we're learning the process. And I tell you, it's new. We're learning about how it's going to work because it's a little different than other media outlets because once it's there, you really can't take it down and reword it. Once it's there, it's there. So that's what we're learning when we load stuff into the app. And also, you know, we were used to communicating in Twitter. You know, it has 140 characters, and we can type more, but it's going to cut off half the stuff that you put into Twitter. We've run into a few little humps and bumps in the road when it comes to how we're going to communicate. For example, some of the building websites designs are a little different than the overall district website design. But it's, I think it's going to be very streamlined. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to. Once we feel comfortable, we're going to have a meeting. We're going to allow parents to come in, public, staff members, and train them on how to utilize that more effectively as a mode of communication in the district. So we're excited about that. I know there were 4 or 5 administrators, Dr. Freeman, I think Scott, and of course Eddie were throwing stuff out there, maybe Dr. Tooley, I can't remember everyone that was uploading stuff in the app while we were being trained. It's going to be a great process. We're excited about it. Also, I want to go over the DOT bus inspections. Out of 42 buses, we had 5 buses that initially got kicked out, and I want to commend our staff. The stressful thing is your overall rating drops if they kicked one out. But it is simple little things that are run back through and they're passed. So if you see on there a lug nut, they just had rust on it, we put a new lug nut on, and it passed. But unfortunately, that dropped us to an 88.1% listing. We had a clip light, a plug that came loose, it was repaired and ran back through and immediately passed. One tie rod in, it was repaired. So as you can see, these are not major issues. And I was reading number 4, when the mechanic went to fix the problem, the individuals and the inspector could not find the problem. So even though it was kicked out, they found a problem. They couldn't come back and show us what the problem was. So we appreciate them and all of our staff down at transportation taking care of the needs. One was item 5, a manufacturer blinker placement. They didn't like where the blinker was placed, but that wasn't our fault because we didn't build the bus. So the rundown on that is the bus side blinker placement. It was put on the bus by the manufacturer, was located on the driver's side of the bus, just in front of the stop arm. The law states the blinker should be located behind the stop arm. So therefore, that was a little bit of an issue. The mechanics moved the blinker placement to behind the stop arm, and the bus passed. So by the end, they had 100% approval, but they did have the 5 buses get kicked out. So we appreciate their efforts. Thank you so much for that. Also, I want to bring up speed on the Interstate Studios. I listed this in here, and I left the hanging word member on there, so I apologize for that. With Interstate Studios, it talked about back in January, I had Mr. Groner working with me on this. They said there would be no price increase, and we verified that again on March 14th, no price increase. And the board at that time had said, okay, but I just want to make sure that everyone is understanding we're going to move forward with executing them as executing the contract for them. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If not, we're going to move forward. All right, a couple of things. Please check your calendars. With the bond issue passing, we're going to need to have a couple of special meetings. And those meetings will be for, number one, we need a resolution to authorize the competitive sale of the bonds. So we're looking about April the 26th for that special meeting. So if you would, check your calendars, and I believe that's on a Monday? Wednesday. So that's on Wednesday. Again, it'll be a short meeting. We do not foresee any special executive happening that night. So we're okay with a 6 o'clock, 6:30-ish, 7 o'clock start time. Whatever works for everyone's schedule.
Did you say April 26th?
Yes, ma'am.
I will be out of town.
Okay. All right. Well, we might need to work around that. I definitely have to have a quorum, but it's preferable if everyone is here. The next date that I need is in May, the 15th, the 16th, or the 17th. We have a little flexibility there. And I guess we have some flexibility with the 26th. We can go earlier or we can go a little later. But there has to be plenty of time between the April meeting and the May meeting. What will happen in April is the resolution authorizing the competitive sale of the bonds. And then what happens in May is you approve the interest rate and all the information that comes back from Standards & Poor and your official credit rating as a district. So April 26th won't work. What about some dates that will work around
There's
that?
lots of other dates. That's just that week I'm out.
Oh, that week, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a possibility of me moving it up, which would be
Not this week.
not much, so I got to move it back,
That'd be
don't
next
I?
week.
I'll make my calendar pull up here.
This week.
Okay, so it's possible for us to do, how about that week of May the 1st? All right, can we do May 1st and then May 15th? Will that work? That's 2 Mondays. We can start at any time, but it would probably be preferable in the evening so the attorney, your bond counsel, and your financial advisor can be here. Any particular time that works better than any other time? As long as it's after 6?
Yeah, 6 or after.
6 or after, okay. So let me have a couple of dates here. Can I do May 1st or May 3rd, and then May 15th and 17th? Will those days work?
All 4.
All 4 okay?
I mean, there's going to be 4 meetings then?
No, there'll be
Okay.
2 meetings.
Okay,
I
just
just
picking
need
out of
to.
those, okay.
And the reason I'm asking that is because I believe that first week they're going to be gone to the Moasbo conference, but I thought it kicked off on Wednesday the 3rd. So I have to have May the 1st locked in.
First is good.
All right, 1st is good, and then I might need some flexibility for that 15th or the 17th. And the reason I say that is because they're probably going to need 2 full weeks to get all the information back from your credit rating and all that information. All right, so that's what we'll write down. Bethany, you got that for me?
So which one, the 15th and
We're going to
1st?
definitely do May 1st. Will you go ahead and text and ask if that will work there? All right, so we're going to do May 1st and then either May 15 or May 17. We will try to get it around, what's work, 6:30-ish?
6:30.
7 o'clock, what works? So I know some folks will have church obligations and they'll probably want to get
Okay,
there.
I can't do the 17th, but you will still have a quorum without me, so.
Okay, but you can do the 15th.
Yes.
And as long as the 15th works for the financial advisor, I'd rather keep on the 15th. All
We're
right.
doing 6:30 on those 2 dates.
Yes, we can do 6:30 on both of those 2 dates. Mrs. Ginge, will you send that message out to them? The 1st and the 15th at 6:30 p.m. and ask if that works with their schedule. All right, I want to talk to you just a little bit about the process. The way the bonds work is with your financial advisor, you're going to have a competitive bid process. And that means any underwriter in the United States has the opportunity to bid to be your underwriter. And that way you know that you're getting the best competitive process and that you're saving money for the district because you get to choose in a competitive bidding who you want to go with. The district and our financial advisor, Steve Nicholas, we are not restricting anyone from participating in this process. For example, I know that in the past we've used LJ Hart and Companies. We now have a financial advisor, Steve Nicholas, and we moved away from LJ Hart. And just because of that professional relationship we've had with LJ, it does not mean that he and his company cannot bid and actively bid on the process as being the underwriter of the bonds. With that being said, also the board can't make the decision of just offering the underwriting services to LJ and his company because that's the whole point of having a bid process. You look at the bids, determine what's not necessarily the lowest, but the best bid for the district, and that's the way you proceed. And I know, for example, that LJ Hart and his company are financial advisors for other school districts, and they have a clear understanding of how the bid procedures in the open marketplace will work and how the competitive sales process will actually happen. So we're opening it up, and we're going to do our best. And in doing so, in saving money, it gives you the opportunity to put more money into your facilities. So just kind of a little update on what we're going to be discussing April and May.
You said it may not necessarily be the lowest.
Uh-huh.
What would be better than the lowest interest rate?
Okay, well, here's a prime example. And I asked the same question, so thanks for bringing that up. You can have an underwriter that says, I'm going to sell your bonds, and they will give you a price per $1,000 of bonded debt. So let's say he's going to charge you $20 for bonded debt, $20 per $1,000. But someone else is going to charge you $10
Correct.
per $1,000.
So the
That's the lowest is 10. But the 20 person is going to give you an interest rate of 2%, and the person charging you 10 is going to give you an interest rate of 3.5%.
So it's not necessarily the interest rate.
Correct.
that's the
It is
lowest,
the
it's whole
overall
package.
cost of the bonds, of the underwriter services, and the interest rate. So that's why we say lowest, best. Okay? All right, thank you for that question. Next, just a few other things, and then I know I'll stop. I want to call your attention, be sure to read what's coming down the pipe as far as legislature proposed information. The laws are quickly changing, as I'm sure you are aware. It did pass for the vouchers and tax credits. We're going to see how that impacts us, and I will do my best to report that back to you. There's no new information out there of how it's going to impact Hillsboro schools, but I'm working to get that information to share it with you. Now, you see a lot of House bills. Take time to read over those, the ACT work keys, House Bill 97. I'm not going to go through every one of those, but it talks about the State Board of Education granting visiting scholar certificates as a licensure to teach in the public schools. So there is a lot going on in the legislature that you need to take time to be familiar with. I included everything that has the potential to impact school districts. And one of the huge ones is the Cronkite New Voices Act. That's House Bill 441. Please take an opportunity to read that. That has to do with students that participate in a school newspaper and how their speech cannot be denied, which we don't. However, you can't censure any of their information either. So there's a huge political impact there. Also, early childhood education. So again, I'm not going through all of those, just calling your attention to a few. And you'll also see your MSBA legislative voice that I've added in here. And I want to be clear that I really like the word pontificating. And I like that because a lot of people get the podium and preach a lot of things that aren't actual or factual. And when they say we're going to fully fund the foundation formula for public schools, it sounds totally great. But that hadn't happened in what, Kelly, 20 years that I know of? And I've been since you've been in Hillsboro schools, it hasn't happened. And it sounds good on paper until they realize financially they can't do it. And they'll come back after we've built the budget based upon fully funding the formula. Then they had the veto session, and guess what? They start cutting things out in your district's budget, then you have problems. So we're going to continue to buzz it and be fiscally responsible, but realize, I was asked that on Twitter not too long ago, do you really think they're going to, Mr. Allison, thank you for that softball, Heath, I knocked it out of the park. No, there is no guarantee they're going to fully fund the formula. So again, something to think about. And lastly, I did give you some information on upcoming events. You see our team meetings, the Reading Awards Assembly. If you haven't attended that, and I know several of you work during the day, that is a phenomenal opportunity at our primary school, a great celebration for those kids. So please, if you can, make plans to attend the Reading Awards Assembly at the primary. If you need more information, text me, email me. I'll get you the start times. We love handing out certificates to those little kiddos. And lastly, our snow makeup days and graduation is...
That's not on here, May 18th.
May 18th.
Trying to get your attention for your meeting. It's May 18th.
It's May 18th. And if you, I know, let's see, I wish we had a picture, Mr. Marino, we could throw up of how the turf is looking.
I got one from today.
You've got one. Well, would you maybe mind emailing that to Mrs. Ringo? And I'll see if she can pull that up and send it up for everyone to see. If you haven't seen it, it's impressive. That's just all I got to say to that. It's impressive. I'm really excited about how fast, I hate to say it ahead, but the process is going. We hope no rain happens, but I'm getting questions on, hey, what about graduation? Are we going to be able to have it? And we're really hoping that we can, but...
He will not tell me that you will be ready in time, but I am confident.
We are still very confident that...
Gotta be positive.
That's right.
No.
I also want to thank Mr. Marino, who's been sending a lot of information out on Twitter. If you don't follow Eddie on Twitter, high school athletics, at @HS_athletics, please do so because he's been putting some videos together. And actually, I'm pretty impressed with Eddie's ability to get that put together. I know Dr. Isaacson's trained him up well. But Eddie actually has used the school's drone to fly over and show you basically time lapse of how everything's going. So thanks, Eddie, for that. And that's all that I have for you this evening.
Okay.
That was short.
Okay, moving on then to facilities and grounds with Director Best.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mine's a little shorter, Doc.
It's easy to do though, isn't it, right?
It is, isn't it, for me? Actually, it's not been too bad. It's kind of been busy, as everybody's seen, with the elections coming along, with everything going on. Congratulations to everyone. We just been kind of maintaining the best we can. Anderson's been fighting with us, as well as everybody's seen. You've got any kids in the district or teachers that know them. We've been having great insect issues. The ants are still a massive problem at the primary, and now they're like attacking the intermediate. So we've had our pest company out quite a bit lately in the last month or so, and the weather's not always helpful with us, but we hope that now we're going to control them. We did get a report from a couple weeks ago from the garden club at the junior high that we also gained termites in front of the junior high there in the bed. So Anderson's been in to fix that problem too, hopefully. So hopefully we can control these little critters. So they've been winning so far. But anyway, the other thing we've been working on is all the rain and weather we've been running into with the tornado, as y'all know, back about a month ago. We're still working on some of that with the insurance companies, as well as what Eddie was talking about with the fields. We're still working on roofs at the high school yet with them. Still working on, we're trying to get the flashing taken care of, which is the metal edging. So the roof's taken care of, protected. We're still working on the concession stand and the track sheds down at the field. We've been informed now that those shingles, which are 4-tab shingle, which is kind of unique, are not available. So now we're having to step one more step and actually have them give us a total bid of what it would cost to replace the whole roof now. So, and then of course, once we get that information, we have to go to the insurance company and talk to them again. So, a little bit of more footwork yet, but we're getting there. They are safe, they're not leaking, but they do have to be repaired properly soon. We did get rid of the trees at the data center. Personnel at the data center love us now. They did come down, all good and safe, so no more damage in our vehicles, our school vehicles. So that's a good thing. We got rid of the stump down there, so we can't run into it, and we got the one at the junior high removed. So now we can start looking at replacing that tree. So the events coming up that we wanted to kind of just cover by in case you missed the last blood drive, there is another one coming up next Friday at the high school, so just in case. That's always a good thing for everybody. We do have the art expo coming up also next week out here at the Civic Center starting Wednesday. I'll be out there about 3 days. They do some great jobs with the kids and showing off our abilities and our students have. And our teachers and all of our schools do an outstanding job getting that set up. So hopefully you'll get to attend or see that at least once or a couple nights there. The old football field, unfortunately, I wish I could give you a real positive update. We don't have one yet. The weather is not cooperating with these guys to get this done. They still know what they're going to have to do down there. They know how much they got to do with the road repair. Fortunately, we don't have any start dates yet. If the weather changes, we will, and they will get it done soon. And we did about 160 work orders, just so you guys know. So kind of staying busy with that. And lawn service has started. First week they mowed, they started a little bit late. They didn't get everything done like they needed to, but this last one they did a much better job. We're Communications is our brand new company, so they're still learning the district, some of the ins and outs, what we want them to do, but I think it's looked pretty good last few times, this last time they cut it. So next step for us as grounds personnel and maintenance is to get the beds done at the high school and throughout our district to make sure those are maintained properly as well.
And we're going to get those knocked out by graduation.
Oh, they will always be in good shape for graduation, for sure. We always want to look good up there. The insurance company, Music, has our district and everything. There it is. If everyone wants to turn around, I think they finally got it up there. So Eddie has done a good job getting that to look good up there, that's for sure. Good company.
Well, this is it's inlaid now, and they're going to have to come back and they'll start sewing it. So basically, once the green's all down, they come back in and cut in the H, and then they sew the H to the turf. So, and I appreciate Eddie working hard on the design. We went with the H because rather than the hawk head, because you can see it from either the visitor side or I guess the north or the south end. Wherever you're standing, it still says H. And I believe there's another picture or two. Aaron, is there another picture? Is that all we got? That's the only one we have, Ed? Way to go, man. You'll see one thing that's interesting is that the turf alternates. You'll have darker green, darker green, except for right in the center. Midfield, it is both green because it would not, the contrast wouldn't be very good. All right, let's see what else we got. So this is what it looks like before the H has been put in. I guess this is a drone picture.
That's the drone. That's from about 250 feet up.
All right, so you'll see the blue end zones, a little different than what we had in times past. So
The H is at the 50-yard line.
the H will be right dead in the center, correct? And I didn't see the soccer lines. Are they?
They're on there. They're black. You can't see them.
You can't see them.
You can see them when you're on the field. You can't see them from this picture.
Sure.
Where's the decal? Not the decal.
Not in yet.
We're good.
Well, it should be down here in the green somewhere in the conspicuous places. We're talking about the logo from Vernon Jones.
That's not in yet.
Right, but we're still talking about not on the surface, but down.
Right, it'll be in it'll be on the D zone on the west side, which is by the batting cage and concession stands, or the D zone by the scoreboards, which are in between, on the either end of the rectangle area, you see the Jets in the red. It'll be one of those.
So, that's good.
Notice Festus has, on the west driving, they've got, it's almost
Oh, yeah.
kind of in the middle.
Right. So that's what it looks like. Sorry to interrupt, Ray.
Oh, no.
Is the track
Hello.
being used now?
No,
It is not.
they're waiting to
So
take
is
the
it going to be
lines
ready
off.
for the big meet?
No,
No, the track is not.
under promise, over deliver.
Okay,
It's not going to be ready for the track meets, it's not going to be ready for graduation.
okay. Just asking. For
You
some
can see that, believe me.
reason, for some reason, I thought I was told that.
You know that he's being facetious, correct?
I understand.
All right.
It is.
That is Betty Marie.
But yeah, it's going well out there, that's for sure. So,
That's nice.
back to the insurance company music, Chase was in, and he's the gentleman that comes around and does a walkthrough for our buildings and make sure that we're following all the proper procedures and guidelines for us to be insured by music and everything, so the school is protected for the insurance thing. He usually supposed to be approximately about every 18 months. He's been scheduling himself about every 2 years, so but he's still pretty consistent. We looked at the 4 of the buildings. We left the intermediate out this time, and we took on the other 4 buildings on his tour. What we looked at was shop classes, the libraries, the science labs, the home ec rooms, pretty well the weight rooms, gyms, see what was going on in those and anything he might have just stepped across as he went by. The report was not too bad. We can share this report with you. I just got it kind of recapped earlier today and everything, but it wasn't bad. There were some flaws we had, but nothing really majorly serious, which was good. Doc, can we get this report?
Yeah, let's start with, now there was, who wanted us to check with the fire department about
Yes.
the exit lighting was one thing.
That was one. It was in the primary gym, but in the extra lights on the outside of the wall before you walked out into the hallway. I have already been in contact with Brian already. At this time, he says there's no guidelines on that, but we would have to be required to have those. We may put them in. He's not saying we can't. But according to the guidelines we got set forth in there based on the square footage and amount of seating and personnel, the exit that's available there with the proper lighting is efficient. Okay? But he says you can still put whatever you want in. Now, we do have them in the other buildings. If you go to junior high school, you'll know that they're already in those places, even not going to the into the hallway. So we will probably look at actually putting them in. We think it'll be a good thing.
And one of the other things, Ray, was take some of the classrooms had, their doors decorated for Valentine or for Easter, spring, and they had their windows covered and the door. He expects that all of those are to be removed, and if they want something for intruders, they want a curtain, correct, Ray, or something that you can
something that can go up or down.
They want to have clear view from the outside in. They do not want the window covered during the typical normal school day.
Right.
And he also wants the candles and the candle warmers removed.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That was done a long time ago.
Well, I think if you have kind of
he did
sneaked
find
back
one.
in. The warmers are not an
Well, I
open flame,
retired.
but they still like to have their candle warmers because, in all honesty,
I know.
especially down to junior high, and when things heat up a little bit, and PE classes, we like to improve the aroma in the classrooms.
Yes.
For the record on this report, that junior high teacher had bought a candle, but there was no candle warmer. She bought it as a gift, from a kid's fundraising, but had not opened it.
Oh, it wasn't open, it was just sitting on the
Yeah,
desk.
it was one. He just
So-
couldn't get rid of them. So.
Anyway, so there's just a few highlights.
There was a few things on there that was kind of questionable. Hey, sorry, we want to make the rules, so we just try to. Because what we have to do is we'll incorporate with this with the administration. We recap it, and then between Becky and I, we get this information back to Chase, say we did this on this date. So we have to reply to all this, and it has to be completed. And sometimes it'll be like we have an issue with the basketball goals at the Gym 1, for example. It has to have these safety straps put on. Well, we worked with Eddie about a year and a half ago now almost, and we got all the straps, but BSN hasn't able to figure out the fixture or the part we need to make it work properly. So Chase is going to help us with that because it is kind of unique because the way they're designed, the way they hang up, is different from what they actually designed those for. So it's a little different. So he's helping us with that issue, and we hope to get that corrected. But he understands some of that, but we do have to respond to it. And he's, if we can't do something on the report, we just tell him it cannot be completed based on this, and he'll say okay. So, but nothing major though. So, but that's our report. We'll be glad to share it with you if you'd like to see it hands-on. I do have it on computer. When you have Doc emailed out, or Beth Ann, if you want to see it.
Can I ask you a question?
You sure may.
On your pesticides, when you spray, are the kids inside the building?
They are not.
Okay. And
We
you
do
know-
this all. We do most of all our spraying. Like Anderson come in on Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Because the only thing that they have linked childhood cancer risk, which is absolutely increasing every year, is to pesticides sprayed in buildings and on lawns. So
Correct.
yeah, just as
That's
much
why
as-
we
so
like doing all that.
using
different
the
times.
least cancer causing.
We look at all that. We all have to have all the safety data sheets. All that's kept on file as well too for everybody to look at. So we do try to watch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you guys plant the tree at the primary today, or was that done?
Yes, we did. It came in this morning. We put it in today.
And that wasn't mentioned when we talked about primary, but Friday, weather permitting, we're supposed to have a dedication for Karen Kotzner. Karen Tomachek Kotzner.
Yes. Thank you. We did just get that today.
Yeah, thank you,
So,
Mike.
thank you, though. All right, any other questions? Not? Thank you.
We did finalize May 1st and May 15th. Those are the 2 days. May 1st and May 15th. So we got it.
Well, I don't know, his report was kind of long.
It's pretty long as mine.
It was Eddie's fault. We had pictures.
Okay, well, we'll bring Kathy Ringo up.
Ringo, she'll be shorter.
She'll be shorter than all of them.
Okay, for this pass up to April 6th, we had 175 submitted work orders and completed 186. Our training this month was on Veronix. This is our deep freeze, which allows us to completely reset a computer. So if someone were to change the desktop screen, when it reboots, it brings it back to the original state, which saves on the computer. Our Chromebook printing's in full swing. We've extended it, and it seems to be going really well. So now it's a matter of where we're going to be printing the locations.
But we're still just at the high school.
We're still just at the high school. The biggest problem is going to be where we print to, because we're not going to be able to manage if we have everybody's printer going to it. The Technology Committee met on Wednesday, April 5th. We're in the final stages. We've got our action steps together, and we plan to have that to the board in May. Math testing has officially begun. Started at the elementary and seems to be going well, but I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Freeman and Heath Allison for allowing us to use their Chromebooks to help us with the elementary testing. And the last thing on our list is we have a new server installed for food service. The previous one was no longer supported by Microsoft. Any questions? Yes.
Take notes, gentlemen. Okay. Financial report.
So you have, I have your financial statement through the end of March up there. And again, revenue and expenditures are continuing to track right about how we think they should. With revenue particularly, I've been watching state, because as far as our local tax collections, we have achieved what I budgeted for that part. The delinquent continue to come in a little bit, but I don't think we're going to see a problem there. The good news is, I know DESI is a little, we don't know with the state funding formula with the legislators quite yet. However, they have upped the state adequacy target, which is what drives our formula, and they are very conservative. So for them to increase that means that this year, the year we're currently in, that they feel that that can be achieved, so that's good. So when I do my budget amendment next month, you'll see that reflected in there. Expenditures, they're still a little bit ahead, but as I've been telling you, that's because of how we changed the structure of the payroll for this year. I did have budget meetings on March 30th, building level budget meetings. I think some of you had conflicts and weren't able to make it. The principals have all their information back to me for their building budgets and their summaries, so that's good. And I'm beginning to work with the departments on their budgets. I've already worked with technology, we're still fine tuning a few things there. And then over the next week or two, I'll work with the other departments in getting their budgets finalized. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Did we discuss the last week of May or the first week of June? What did we discuss with the board for the preliminary budget meeting that we had?
Well, we would present it in May at the budget meeting. I would have the preliminary budget for you. And then first week of June, we would aim to have a meeting.
Discussion.
In case there was, some discussion, any questions, explanation.
And then try to finalize that budget at their June board
The
meeting.
regular
correct?
June meeting. Because hopefully by that point, all your questions will be answered and everything.
Okay. Very good.
It's right in your chair.
It's there. We can see it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. There is no unfinished business.
Do we have any student reports?
It's not on here.
They're not on the list.
Do I have a report this month?
Oh,
Nothing formal.
All right.
anything you want to share?
No scare.
So this month we put out a concern, suggestion, and like ideas topic form thing on our Google Classroom. So anybody who has any open ideas for us, they're submitting that there. And we still have the student activity survey running until this upcoming month, and then we'll collect all of the data. We're still trying to get more students' input on that.
Are you getting more student input with your Google?
Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
I think last time I checked, our student activity survey has like 170 kids that have filled it out. We're still trying to push for more to fill it out though, so we can get a bigger range of
Sure.
results.
So very good.
Okay, so we'll move into new business then. First item is extra duty committee recommendations. They have 4 or 5 recommendations for us to consider, and they were listed for you. So, do we need to approve all of these at one time or
It's up to the
individually?
board. You can do it individually, or you can just approve them unless there's an item that needs
Well,
further discussion, clarification.
Let's get questions on any of the items and information about these statements. Right, Mr. Marino was coming. Because we did not have anything on the dance coach or the FCCLA, correct?
Correct, and you had nothing on that because they failed to they failed to move forward due to lack of motion. Don't tell me when you say that from the SBA committee.
Can I ask, because
Yeah.
but they are paid a stipend. Okay, so
Absolutely.
it was something different other than what,
Correct.
this led me to believe that they weren't receiving a stipend.
They were wanting to increase the amount that they were
Okay.
They
receiving.
wanted to change.
Follow.
So you have 4 items that the Extra Duty Committee asked you to consider in front of you. Do you want me to go through them, or do you want to go through them? How do you want to do that?
Just
I was going to ask you about
That's
the print
fine.
department head.
Let's start that, that's number 1. Okay, so the print department head is a district level print department position. However, we no longer have a print department person, so to say, nor do we have the equipment to sustain that. We looked at purchasing the new equipment, but it was very expensive. I'm not going to put a number on it because I
I
don't
thought it was 10,000
It was
for that
11.
printer.
It was minimum 11,000.
minimum
Okay.
of 11. So we've been outsourcing a lot of our printing and things like that. Plus, as a district, we really weren't printing much in-house anymore as we had in the past. So we're just looking to table that position, not get rid of it, so to say, in case we ever bring it back, but table it and remove it from the extra duty schedule for the time being, if that makes sense.
So when you outsource for all the printing, is that like a competitive bid for a company to meet, or is it done job by job?
I believe, I know that whenever I've done it, it's been done job by job. It hasn't been one grand.
If there is one person that does it, like, for example, you have the planners come in front of you, that was bid out because of the magnitude of the job.
Right.
But if one building wants to have some programs printed for, well, graduation, they'll call somebody on that. or they'll call someone on.
We've gotten some of our envelopes done, we've gotten some things like that.
We had some, like, the product
We have
left
the
over.
envelopes, so we went ahead and found out how much it would cost to print them. Same with that NCR paper, it's the 3-part paper that is super expensive, and we still had some of that in our stock room. So we contacted a couple companies to find out how much it would cost to print on those, just print on them if we supplied it, and we got pretty competitive bids on both things.
Okay, any questions on number 1 then? All right. Number 2, I'm actually gonna defer to Dr. Isaacson for this, because I believe you guys are gonna talk about it later, and that is the recommendation for liquidation of damages for late resignations. Basically what that is after the August 1st deadline. For instance, we may hire someone to coach, I'll use track as an example, in the spring, in August, but then it comes track season, like, I'm not really sure I want to do that anymore. And we're paying them since August to do that position, and then they resign and leave us scrambling to find someone to hire. Is that
in addition to recovering the salary that we've already paid them. And so it's just, as a deterrent, we really need to know at the start of the school year, are you in or are you out? Barring a medical or something of that coming up.
And that's talked about later, is that right?
No,
It's in the policy.
It's in one of the policies.
Okay. Any questions on number 2? Okay. Number 3 is the recommendation of elementary and intermediate STEM club. We talked about the proposal that was submitted from Mr. Riednauer and Dr. Tooley. I believe you guys should have that information. If you don't, then I apologize, it should have been included in that. Basically, they have a STEM club that meets on a, Dr. Tooley? Weekly basis. There are other clubs that we have with the duty schedule right now that Dr. Isaacson are going to kind of go through and clean up that are listed on there, but we're not paying anything for them. And so we want to clean up that extra duty schedule, get it to where it needs to be, and then add the STEM club sponsors and have them on there. The cost is going to be approximately $1,360. That's 2 sponsors. Is that 2 at level 9 or 4 at level 9? 4 at level 9. 4 sponsors at level 9 pay, which would be $1,360, 2 in each building, because they break it up in their sections that they have. So you have 2 in the elementary and 2 in the intermediate.
And that is total cost for the 4.
That's total cost for the 4.
Each person
Right.
getting $1,360.
It's a small stipend, but it's a stipend to start with, and it gradually goes up on level 9. Questions or concerns on that? Okay, and then the last one is one that we talked about for a long time. It was submitted by Mr. Walker. It's non-mission extracurricular organizations and state level events. This basically, we were looking more at FBLA and FCCLA. They have state competitions and things of that they go to and they compete at. Director Cruz, you were there at the meeting when we talked about a lot of this, but basically what it is those kids are part of that co-curricular organization, but then they are asked to fundraise to compete at the state level and things of that nature. So one of the sponsors submitted a proposal asking if maybe we could set aside, and we don't need, it's not an exorbitant amount of money, you know, I'm not trying to make $1,000 sound like not a lot of money, but I think in my research and what I've looked at over the course of the last 4 to 5 years, $1,000 would cover it every year. And basically that $1,000 would be a lot like our mission travel account we have that's budgeted, and then it would be used for the purpose of those 2 co-curricular organizations competing at the state level. Because all of our other activities, our speech and debate, our band, all of our sports and activities, they're covered because of mission travel. This would be state travel specifically for the co-curricular, in particular FCCLA and FBL. It was something that we wanted to ask the board to possibly consider.
Definitely. I've been involved in that.
And it would ease the burden on a lot of students and their families and having to fundraise for $250 or, you know, whatever it is, the cost of the trip, depending on where it is. And the trips rotate around the state a lot. So like this year, I think they were towards the Kansas City area. I'm sorry, what?
I thought it was in Columbia this year.
Columbia, it was, you're right. One was in Columbia, I think one was in Kansas City area, depending on what they were. And it just, it'll just help with that. And they rotate, and sometimes they're in the St. Louis area. So it's not like, I'm not gonna say we're not gonna use it every year, but it's just gonna help offset those costs and free up that time and energy for those young men and women.
We'd also talked about like a defined plan for the fundraising for those 2, where kids aren't having to come up with their own.
Right.
selling candy, selling whatever.
Right, trying to figure out how we can help them. And I think that if we do budget this, it really does virtually eliminate their need to have to fundraise and have to fund their own trip for competing at a state level in those classes.
Is that $1,000 per activity?
Total.
Total.
Oh, yeah, typically it's about between 400 and 500 per activity, because not every kid qualifies. And then sometimes you have kids that do qualify that won't go because they have to fundraise their own way there. So this could
Or
be.
sometimes you have alternates that didn't know they had to fundraise, then someone pulls out and then they have to go. So it helps offset that cost.
Absolutely.
And so FCCLA does compete?
FCCLA and FBLA both compete
I
at
knew
the state level.
FBLA did.
And they're
Many
both.
FCCLAs don't.
FCCLA, we just started competing in probably the last 3 years, and it's really caught on.
Yeah, well, and it increases your membership
Yep.
as well. And supports the curriculum.
Those are the only 4 to be presented to you this evening. The others on that executive summary that's up there that you see as part of it, the ones that didn't come before you because they never received a motion to be off the floor is why.
Okay. So, can we make a motion to put all of these together to approve
I
them?
move to accept these as presented.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Petrie. Do I have a second to accept? Renee. Any other questions or discussion about these items, these 4? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, please. Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next item has to do with the math curriculum. This is our first read this evening, so there will be no action taken. But Mrs. Hildebrand has worked very hard with her team, getting the curriculum set up with the changes that were made, correct? Do we have any questions or concerns for her?
Question. I didn't see any trig or calculus at the high school level.
We don't do calculus. Calculus is given to us by,
Jeff Cope?
correct,
Spring trig is embedded
In the others?
intermediate math, or intermediate algebra.
and
An intermediate, really?
Well, not in the intermediate, really.
intermediate math at the high school level.
Yes.
It's like how, it's like.
We're pushing them, we're pushing them.
Any curriculum that you do not see in here and that we do offer at the high school level is given to us, is dictated
I
by
just
the college.
noticed, I start the high and go down when I read. So it makes more sense.
Okay, any other questions while we're here? So you have this and you may continue to read through it, and then at the next meeting, it will be our second read technically. So you can take a vote on that to approve that at the next meeting. Then we have some policies that are at the second read and need approval. There are 4 of them, I believe. The GCPB, GDVA, GDVDA, and KH. Some of these we've already worked
Yes.
on and talked about.
Especially at KH.
Yes.
That it was in there but not in there last
And
month.
all of these have gone through the committee,
Yes.
so.
And you see that extra, if you look at GCPB, you will see that release from extra duty contracts. That is toward the bottom of page 2, I believe. KH.
At 5%.
Yeah.
$13,000.
Okay. Any discussion or questions about these policies?
And these are policies that will go into effect July 1 or this contract season. That makes sense. When contracts are issued, so this will be for next year, they expect July 1, but it is for these contracts. They'll be issued this school year.
17-18.
Correct.
Okay, I need a motion to accept these 4 policies.
I make that motion.
Thank you. And second, Renee. So if there's no more discussion, please raise your hand to approve these policies. Thank you.
We'll make sure Beth Ann sends these out to the staff, and to the representatives of the committees or the associations that were there.
Okay.
It's coming up.
You're gonna send out cleanup versions, correct?
Well, yes, like KH will be a little more official than what it's written on now,
And there's
but
a
we
lot
will
of-
leave it highlighted so they'll see what additions.
So you can see the changes. Okay, next item has to do with approving the membership dues to MSBA. That is the organization that helps us with many things, writing policies and so forth. And the membership dues for the year is $8,704. And that fee is based on our expenditures that has been reported to Desi.
Mine's
8450. That's what?
8450 is correct. Sorry.
Okay, so mine, 84 what?
$8,450.
I thought we had already done this.
No, that was, I thought we
No.
that was policy.
That
This
was-
is membership.
This is membership.
Yeah, we approved the
This is the bill that came to my house.
This one
I got you pay it? Yeah, and I'm like, I'm supposed to pay this?
I moved to
Okay.
pay membership dues. to MSBA.
My amount was correct. $8,704 is the correct amount. So you need to change that.
Do what now?
That was.
$8,704 is the correct amount, according to the statement.
That you got.
8704.
That I was just supposed to write a check for. It's a little scary.
Now, is that typical for there to be an increase year over year with them?
I believe it's based on enrollment, so it depends
Well,
on
it says expenditures.
expenditures, excuse me, expenditures. One's based on
Yes.
enrollment, one's expenditures. Yes, this is expenditures, how much you expend. So if we don't spend as much, it goes down.
So I'm going to zip up the wallet.
To pay MSBA dues.
Okay.
That amount, that is correct.
You said that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Beth to approve membership dues of $8,704 to MSBA.
Second.
And a second by Rob. And this is for this 2017-18 year. Okay, any other questions about that? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. All right, thank you. The next item is purchasing planners for the next school year. Planners, 1,500 planners for the elementary, intermediate, and junior high. And these are planners through the Interstate Studio. And that bid was for $2,430. Which is, this is something that we do every year as well. So, yes.
Did you do physical planners last year? I thought you did a hiatus and did something different.
We did planners, but we did like our student manuals,
Okay.
not in the planners.
And
So
not
we didn't have
that-
to pay that extra printing fee. We printed those ourselves.
I knew there was some. Lucky you.
You made copies, Bob?
Signed my daughter's.
Oh, okay.
I moved
All right,
to-
so I need a motion
Move to
then.
accept the
The bid of-
purchase, lowest bid of $2,430.
Okay. For these planners. I need a second then. Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Again, these planners are for the elementary, intermediate, and junior high. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of accepting this bid? Thank you. Okay. The next item is for discussion. We want to take a little bit of time to talk about what we want to do as far as a primary intern position for the next school year. Any thoughts about?
Thoughts, sure.
And how we're going to come up with the money for this position and so forth.
And that's, we're trying to keep, a finger on the pulse of the board to determine what direction you want us to go financially. We still want to make sure that this is something the board wants us to consider as we're moving forward in the budget planning process. As you well know, we had an increase in insurance this year, and also when you try to give a step, you're looking, $500,000 roughly for all support staff and certificated staff members. You're looking 300 to 325 and around 200 for complete step for all certificated, non-certificated employees. Now, as you look into the future, one of the things we have discussed and will be coming forward is a cap on insurance. We discussed it at the last meeting, and we wanted to wait until after the negotiations process worked through. So I would, project that to be during the May-June meetings, which will be upcoming. So be prepared for that. Also, just wanted to kind of get a feel for you. We, as central office team, believe that they need another set of hands in the intern position, but we would like for that position to be also to support other building administrators with increased student behaviors we've seen this school year, that this position would be like a traveling position based upon need. For example, we would like to see them housed at the primary school, but if there are behavior needs at the intermediate, that individual would come up and assist Mr. Riedenauer and his staff, or would even go up to the junior high, whatever that position need was, or the elementary. So with that, one of the things we do want to discuss is we've had some resignations from some of our support staff throughout the district. And as we mentioned at the last meeting, we evaluate each position to determine what is the biggest student need and how can we meet that need. And we evaluate positions based upon resignations. As I said, currently, and I'll look at Dr. I, because this is a conversation we've had quite frequently, he, Melissa, and I, trying to determine where do we go from here. And we believe the position is needed. However, you do not have the cash liquidity just to go out and hire another position. This would not be an assistant principal position. It would be an intern. Therefore, the pay is not going to be comparable to an assistant principal. You're looking at the pay being between $45,000 and $55,000-ish. That is what we would like to see. However, you don't know what type of candidates you could attract for that kind of money. And being an equal opportunity employer, we want to give everybody a shot at that position. However, we might not be able to do that based upon funding. Some individuals might not be interested. But for that to even happen, the board's going to have to consider strongly on how are we going to meet the needs of our students and determine how to best meet the needs of adults after we meet the needs of our students. One of the key discussions we've had, and I know that Dr. Isaacson's had with people that have come to the insurance meetings and with the insurance committee, is maybe we need to look to reassign some of our staff to meet our needs in order to free up some cash flow in order to move forward toward the intern position. So I guess our key question is, do you want us to continue to pursue avenues for the intern position and come to you with some financial ways to meet that end? Or are we pretty well satisfied with the way we're doing business and we're not interested in looking at the intern position? So that's kind of the direction I need to know. Our recommendation is you need to investigate the intern. Funding it, and I keep looking down here at Kelly, is going to be an issue for you.
It's my understanding that the needs in the primary for 3 administrators. I'd be interested in seeing some options on how we could do that.
Do we know the percentage of spend that is moving from the primary to the elementary? Are we still going to have that same percentage?
Well, you're going to have a
need next year as this year.
Well, and I want to. That's a two-pronged question, Director Cruz, because not only are we looking at just the special needs, we're looking at the amount of kids, and that second grade is a bubble class moving to third grade, which is going to require the primary administrative team and central office to determine how we're going to meet the needs of the kids of the primary. Do we need to have one of those staff members in that building transition up to the third grade? Because if you hire a brand new third grade teacher, then you're not going to be able to hire an intern. You can't spread the money all different places. So one of those, and we've had that, I know, is the past 2 years, we've had, through attrition, someone retire or resign at the elementary, and those positions weren't filled. Is it past 2 years, is that right? Okay, so that happens. I know it's happened at the intermediate. I know we lost a reading teacher a couple of years ago. We did not replace that position for student need. So I just want to be clear that each building administrator and central office sit down to discuss what the needs are of that building. All right, and from that, we need to fully investigate where the needs go. So to answer your question, we're just not looking at the SPED population. We're looking at all students to determine.
Sure. So is the elementary prepared for the second grade class?
The elementary is not prepared for the second grade class coming up because they went down a teacher last year, and we reshuffled. I'm looking at Melissa and Kim, and we reshuffled that around. So we're going to need another staff member in that building.
We're talking about special needs children needing, so that primary is asking for more, I'm sorry, I'm new, so let me
Sure.
get my mind around this. For more help because they need help with behavioral problems, or is it that they need help with administration?
They need help just
I know.
overall in general, but
Sure.
we've seen an uptick in the amount of behavioral issues coming into the primary.
So why aren't we thinking about a behavioral specialist position instead of an administration
Right,
position?
because with an administrative position, they can have a behavioral background and assist with behavioral needs, but
Yeah,
if you just go
behavioral
for behavioral,
backgrounds aren't specialists, are they? I mean,
well,
a behavioral specialist is,
Mhm.
I mean, if that's the need, I don't know, I know you want to just draw it out as far as you can, but
we're looking to get
just
the
from
biggest
behavioral
bang,
problems, sometimes it really requires a specialist.
and we're not disagreeing with that. And there are plenty of people that have behavioral backgrounds or special educators that have experience dealing with behaviors that have administrative certification. So what you're doing is you're being able to utilize that person across multiple areas than just focusing on key one area, which is special services. You know, and that was a
Okay, so I
question
guess-
Director Cruz brought up, was why don't we just hire a behavior teacher? And then we talked about, well, where can we house that individual? And how would we meet all the behavior needs based K through 6? We'd have to bus students in between buildings. You know, if we had a behavior student in kindergarten, where they're going to go to the intermediate, how are you going to meet that need? So that was a question.
Well, if you're worried about somebody not liking the price that we can pay them because they want to be in an administrative job, they're
Mhm.
probably really not going to like the idea of dealing with all the behavioral problems when they're really geared towards an administrative job, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know, that would, I mean, are we going to say that up front to all of these candidates? That
Sure.
really, we're going to be using you in all of the buildings
Yes.
for any behavioral
Yes, ma'am.
problem, and you're also going to be doing evaluations whenever
No.
you can in your spare time?
We don't see them doing evaluations. We see them assisting with discipline, just some of the day-to-day operations, take some of the workload off the building principal and the assistant principal. That was kind of our focus.
I mean, it
But
sounds
yeah,
great, I'm just thinking it sounds like you're taking, well, it just doesn't sound like you can find that person that would be,
And we might not be able to. I mean, we want to shoot for the stars to get everything we can based upon the skill set that a person brings to the table, and we don't want to close that off. But yet, we still want to be open enough to understanding what our needs are as a district. Because ultimately, if you want a behavior person, we can go get a behavior person, but we're not for sure that they're going to have an administrative background either. If that makes sense, that means we're just going to focus on behaviors, not typically focus on student discipline or any other things that those administrators might pass on to them to assist with. If that makes sense.
And I've asked that question in the past too, and I agree, there definitely is a need there. But, and my interpretation of this person, that would be admin intern that will be kid-centered. They're not going to have the higher administrative level role because they're not being paid as.
That is correct. So they're not going to go evaluate staff
Correct.
members. What we're trying to do is free up
Right.
the
But
time of those two administrators to get in there to do
bottom
this.
line is that there's going to be trade-offs somewhere because the
Yeah, there
money
will
is
be
only so
trade-offs.
far. So, and you had mentioned para resignations.
Mm-hmm.
So is the thought process to not replace some of those paras to
Well,
free up that money?
I shouldn't
Am I
say most.
asking
We've
you to
had
say
several resignations come from sped paras. We're going to have to fill that need.
that? Correct, because they are.
And one of the big
Right.
discussions with John, excuse me?
how many?
We've had 4,
Five next year.
What is their reason for leaving?
Well, some of those paras are actually certificated teachers
And they have
that,
jobs.
and then plus, I mean, it's a difficult job. I
Right,
mean,
but
working
I
with
mean, are they
students that
giving
may-
us a specific set of reasons why they're leaving?
John,
that
I
sounds
mean,
like
as far as
something we need to
resignations, have
No,
they
it's
said?
dollars.
It's just money.
It's $10 an hour. You make more at Target.
Yeah.
You're more at McDonald's, and you're working with kids who are, it's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And it's just, most of the time, and we've hired, it's good and bad. We look to hire people that maybe have a degree in education, but they're doing so to get a job as a teacher. And so it's kind of short-lived, and, we hired a para a month ago, or I believe in our February board meeting, and they resigned at our March board meeting, because they got a teaching job. And so it's a cyclical kind of position, and kind of the district, our focus in SPED went to kind of the para model, and we hired we have 55 paras in our district. As in a reference is, West is right at 70.
That's what I was going to ask. Are
And-
other districts having the same problem? And
As
is it
far
just
as-
because we have a lower number and that's why
No,
you're
there's
struggling?
lower number as far as,
When you said that Northwest has 70 and we have 55.
we have a very high number.
We do,
They have
okay.
70 for 6,000 kids.
Okay, 'cause
we
our
have
kids are
55 for 3,000, 3,600.
That's not the problem.
Well, and so it's a combination. We have very large para staff who are great. It's just, we do have a little bit of turnover there because it is a tough position. And we've also discussed maybe as we approach, instead of hiring 2 paras, is maybe hiring a teacher. Because when you talk about dollars, a para starting out at roughly the benefits and salary is about $20,000. As a district, we spend roughly $1 million on paras. Is maybe changing that focus towards, hey, let's getting a teacher. And so that's, we asked a lot of our para staff, and so maybe trying to refocus some of that. And one of the things to that end is communicating with primary staff is how best to meet your needs. The primary has 6 instructional aides, which assist with like lunchroom, and they're in classes now. The elementary has 2, the other buildings don't have any. And we've kind of talked about that. One of the things is they cover a long period of time during lunch. That's the only building in our district that the administrators don't do lunch duty. Our expectation is next year, the administrators are doing lunch duty. And so that's going to free up, when you think about, and I've done lunch duty, and Doc, there's 4 or 5 paras in there. If you think about man hours, of spending 2 and 3 hours, 4 and 5 people, you're talking 15 hours are spent working in there. And so the question becomes, as we visit with the primary staff and kind of, hey, would we get more value, or have our needs changed to once again reevaluate as like an administrative intern to be able to assist and go through the building? Are we getting more bang for our dollars than with the para? And kind of, but it's not, hey, we move paras so we can hire an administrator. That shouldn't be the message either. It's trying to meet those needs. So when we've had some of the paras that have left here at the end of the year, or they're going to resign at the end of the year, is there wouldn't be anyone out of a job, but there would be, hey, we're going to need somebody to go to high school. And taking kind of holistic district paraprofessional, district staff member, which is hard. That's a complete change in culture shift of what we've had here in the district before. I was hired at the junior high, and we really don't leave is looking at maximizing that. I visited with some of our teachers today and kind of fostering those discussions. Said we're going to be visiting with you about it. Is trying to decide how we go forward on that. But in order to maximize our resources, we have to have those discussions of, hey, I know you were hired in one building, but we really need you to go here. And we want our adults to be where they want to be, but sometimes we may not. That's going to be, number 1 focus is going to be on the kids. And that'll be number 2. We want people you're gonna be happy if you work in the building that you want to be at. So those are some of the discussions that we need to have, not just in here, but also with the teachers.
So what we'll do is come back with you and develop some ways, some decisions that you're going to make or have to make to determine if you want this position, how we want to fund it. So that's what we'll start working on the next couple of weeks and get some more info to you. Because I'm hearing you out, we want to look at
Look at it.
Look at it.
Sacrificing, supporting the salary schedule.
I'd like to see the options before I make a decision.
Sure. Okay, so Mrs. Ginge and I and Dr. Isaacson will sit down and have those discussions. All right, that's all. Before we close, I got something.
Okay, well, so that's our last item. I don't know what to say now.
This is under the other, I guess we go back to the superintendent's report. Please take some time over the next month to look over the committee assignments that was placed in front of you. You need to communicate with myself and Beth Johnston on what committees you want to remain on. This will be on the agenda for next meeting as we prepare for June and moving into next school year. So, Mrs. Heine, you'll need to look at things that you're particularly interested in as the other board members evaluate what their current roles are and if they want to keep those.
Is there a number that you all shoot for? How many
Well,
to be a part of, or?
Well, if you look at the backside of this, where it actually has the committees listed and how many individuals are on, the board typically likes to keep that number on here. But if there's something you want to be on, as long as there's not 4. The only requirement is there can't be 4 on any one committee. And the board president must serve on all meet and confer committees.
And the standing motion that 3 of us
Can't be related.
cannot be related.
And the standing motion is correct.
Right, but
Yes. you
that
cannot be related.
influences.
Right.
And the reason why I don't have it, I had baby care this year. Next year I won't.
The exception
You are the exception.
on the one.
That's it.
Okay, so that was our last item. So I need a motion to recess open session and we'll move back into executive session. Thank you, Mrs. Petrie and Mrs. Sawyer. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, so we'll take a 10-minute break or so. We'll call you back and we'll.
Good luck tomorrow. Do well, score high. Right flight. Right flight, right flight.